Now, Sharkies versus the Roosters. Oh, man, what a win for the Sharkies. Talking about defence. They get the job done. Nicho Hynes. Nicho Hynes.
The man.
He is the man. He is truly the man. It is shocking how many times now over the last X amount of years he impacts big games. And he's just so smooth with it. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. It's like the defence know he's coming. He doesn't look like he's, you watch Mitchell Moses and you're like, Mitchell Moses is quick. Whereas you look at Nicho Hynes, he kind of glides slowly, but he just moves past him every time.
There's a few players in the NRL and any players I've ever spoken to ask questions about what makes this player special, and a few of them, and Tom Trebojevic, even probably a bit earlier on in his career, where he was just no one could touch him, particularly that 2021 season. And you're like, he's got the big rangy stride on him and that, but he doesn't look like he's lightning, but people couldn't get a hand on him. And they said it's just so deceptive, and no matter how prepared you are for him, you position yourself on them like you would any other defender, attacker. Let's go whack, and they're past you. And Nicho's the same. And that's what players say. They're like, he doesn't look lightning quick, but you blink and he's gone. He moves so well.
And it's like, because he has that extra part of his game, that's why he also is so good at try-assists, because normal halves, when you're sitting there as a 7, you go, I don't have to worry about him busting through the tackle. I don't have to worry about him gassing me. With Nicho, you've got to worry about a guy that's got ball running as good as a fullback, ball playing as good as, as silky as your better 7s, and he's also a bigger body. It is just like, it's
you're, as far as like well-rounded halves, so well-rounded players, but certainly well-rounded halves, it's him and Cleary.
It really, he is, and he's just going to get better and better and better. We are just seeing the beginning of his game. Like, for example, how much kicking do you think he's done in his whole career? Because he didn't come in. I'm pretty sure at the most he was a 6, but I think he was a fullback for Sunshine. Could you check that for us? For the Falcons, I'm pretty sure he's a fullback. So it's like, how much in-game experience does this bloke have as a 7? It's pretty minimal. Unless his junior career he was a 7, but put it this way, everyone forgets when he came to the Sharkies, no one was talking about him 7. They were saying 6 or maybe 1 if you move Will Kennedy, but Will Kennedy had such a good year that they were like, all right, well, you're going to have to put him at 6, and Trindle will go to 7. And then he comes and he becomes the 7 and kills it. Unbelievable.
And that's it with talk about impact in big games. Sure, he can score well and rack up all these attacking stats, but in terms of in-season, regular season games, it doesn't get much bigger than, the bye last week, the week before that, they had that gut-wrenching loss to the Warriors where they faded in the second half, come up against the Roosters, who the Roosters had won, I think, 7 on the trot against the Sharks. You're down at half-time, coming off that horrible second half last time around. Not single-handedly, but almost single-handedly, steps up and wins the game against the Sydney Roosters. It doesn't get much bigger than that as a regular season match.
It really does. And a Roosters desperate to find some form. The Roosters completed nearly at 90%.
Wow.
88%. The only difference was that the Sharkies had 51 total sets compared to the Roosters. So the Sharkies completed 76%. They had 39 sets completed, and the Roosters had 30% completed. So their ability just to keep the ball away from them was just...
I've got them such genuine premiership contenders. Penrith are clearly still far and away the best at the moment, but there's a few cracks appearing, not bloody many, I mind you, but the Sharkies, they've got a few defensive issues to work out, but it's a long season. Their attack is just so in sync, and as you said, Kempy, Nicho being at the forefront of that, who missed the first 3 or 4 rounds of the season when they had a few struggles, he's only going to get better at halfback. Their combinations are only going to get better. We speak about it all the time, but their depth is unbelievable. They lost this week Rudolph. They lost Dale Finucane, both for extended stints. New blokes come in, do a great job for them.
Yeah.
I can see them going very, very deep this year.
It just all they need to worry about is their defence.
Yeah.
They just need to make sure they stay on top of their defence in big games, and they'll sort it. They really will challenge all the way. all the way.
Just on Nicho, sorry. I've clicked on about 10, 12 random games. He was fullback for most of them and was halfback in a couple of them. So he floated around, probably mostly fullback. But that's only gone off about 10 or so games.
Nicho and Matty Moylan's ability to interchange between left and right without the attack being stunted at all blows my mind every week how good they do it. Love it.
Yeah, agreed. And I do think that, like, Matty Moylan is, like, he is, without Nicho, he really struggles. I really do think that, not that he really struggles, like he's an NRL player and he's had a great career or whatever, but I do think that, like, he is yin to Hynes is yang. Like, if there was another 7 there, I just don't know whether they would sync as well as they do. Whereas it just seems for some reason when Nicho plays, Matty Moylan just plays well. So good. So, yeah, great win from the Sharkies. Nikora, again, another solid game. Anyone else? Cam McInnes, he gets through some work. I liked him at 13. I really did. 106 metres, 40 tackles, only 1 miss.
C for running for his casual 212 metres, 92 post contact. Like, yeah, another night out for him. Yeah. Quiet season for him. He's just punching that.
But it also, how scary is it that you see his little grubber that he put in? That I think it forced it. It was. He has all the running and all that, and now he's got a little kick to his game. He's a scary prospect.
He had 92 post-contact metres as a centre. If he can do that every week, like, seriously. And it's what, second year as a centre? He was a wide running forward. So what a great win for the Sharkies. It really, the confidence they can get from that is just so much, because they can go through the rest of the year now going, all right, we've proven we can keep a team like the Roosters to 12. Like, that is not an easy feat. Not an easy feat at all. Anyone else stand out for you?
All good there, mate.
I thought Hamlin Welle had some really good moments as well. He took that quick tap, which didn't lead to a try, led to a penalty, but it was a good play, and he had a really good run.
That late line break.
The late line break, yeah. I know he got injured last year. Before his injury, he was just unstoppable. He's now getting back to that form.
Well, I think they scored the next play. He made that bust late on in the game, and then it might have been Nicola scored straight off the back of it.
Yeah, yeah, he was great.
Blake Brayley, thought he's probably his best game this year. Really, really good. Try assist. Got through a mountain of work. He's just such a good player to have at your club because, he's not going to break the bank. He's not going to Blake the bank.
Go home, Campy.
He's not going to Blake the bank. That's really hard to say. Blank. He's not going to Blake the bank. He's not going to break the bank, but he delivers extremely high quality service. He's still relatively young. Can you get his age? I think it's like 22, 23. So he's got ages to get better. On top of that, like, this spine is relatively new together. They've essentially had one season together. He's just going to he's 24, so he's still young in that 9 position, and he's a guy that you can really keep, like, it's so important, as we said, we always talk about combinations, but the longer you keep that 9 there, the better it is for the club, because you just build around it. You know what you're going to get. You know what he delivers. You know where to be, the passing, the timing, everything. So, yeah, I definitely thought Brayley had probably...
He's small as well, Brayley.
Not the biggest.
And to go 80 minutes every week and, like, you never really sit there and go defensive deficiencies or anything, like, man, he's a tough little unit.
Fucking so tough. A few negatives. I do think that Teague, Wilton, Moylan side in defence just a little bit worrisome at times. Now, it may be, again, because of a new combination. We're massive fans of a guy like Wilton, so hopefully they can sort that out, because if they can, like, in attack, he ran for 148 metres, 3 tackle breaks, a line break. But, yeah, just that edge of defence, I just think they need to clean that up a little bit.
It's very vulnerable. Teague's missing a lot of tackles, and unfortunately a couple of key ones. And even Nicho, mate, he's had a few this season and last year where he has been, caught out of position. But again, for a bloke who's played primarily at the back in his career, it's a big thing coming in the defensive line. So it'll come, but it's a concern.
But the good thing is, kept him to 12. That's kind of only a little nitpick right now. Now, onto the Roosters. Man, just discipline, man.
So bad.
It's just, unfortunately, because, like, I don't know. It's not like they're definitely not dirty players. You know, like you've got Hargreaves, obviously, is the enforcer. You've got Radley, who is, hyper aggressive. But the rest of these players, so I don't, it's just confusing to me that the discipline is so poor. Like, are they too aggressive for rugby league today? Like, is that the thing? Like, if we took this team and we put them in 2010, would they be sweet? I'm not sure.
We had a good convo, Kempy, at the wedding the other night while this game was going on, and I think there'd been the early sin bin to Nat Butcher. We were talking about the Roosters and Radley in particular, about how I think we use, and we've said it timelessly over and over again, that this excuse of, you don't want to take the aggression out of them, they need to be enforcers. That's their natural ability when you look at someone like Cheese or Radley or whoever it might be, or Hargreaves. But at what point do you get to where you go, no, you have to change something in your game and reduce some of the aggression, because they're losing games because they're getting so many sin bins to their name. Like,
they had 14 penalties.
Yeah, 14. And 10 minutes after you had this conversation, Cheese got binned, Radley got binned, and they lost the game 22-12 with 3 sin bins to none.
Yeah.
That's a pretty damn good effort. But even before that, just giving away stupid penalties, the discipline is really poor. For someone like Trent Robinson, who's one of the best thinkers in the game, one of the best coaches in the game, something has to change, doesn't it?
Like, are they, as I said, are they too aggressive? Like, has the game moved past
I think
that?
they are too aggressive.
Yeah, like, I think that there may be a case for the game has just moved past that kind of footy, because, you even go back to the Rabbitohs final, and the Rabbitohs played their part. And to Trent Robinson's credit, he took responsibility in regards to, he said, we lost our heads out there. But, it just seems like a bit of a recurring theme right now at the Roosters, where they're just hyper aggressive. And as I said, yesteryear, that's what rugby league was all about. That was what rugby league is all about. But I think in today's game, unfortunately, you just can't do it.
And Campy, the sin bins are doing my head in this year. I think there's been way too many of them. But on the same account, we know why the NRL are doing it. They're trying to protect players long term, whether it be their heads or the dangerous hip drop tackles, whatever it is. They're not going to change their tune. So your side has to adapt accordingly.
Yeah.
Because it's all good and well to say, the game's going soft and they're going too harsh on little elbows that slip up or whatever it might be. But there'll be teams out there who, and Melbourne will be one of them, who will adjust and say, we'll change our tackle technique to make sure we're not getting sin-bins, to make sure we've got our full allotment of players on the field at all times. And they'll be the ones in the grand final at the end of the season. And sides, the Roosters in that semi-final last year capitulated with all these sin-bins as a result of aggression. So
they could have won the comp.
Yeah.
They were
absolutely could have won the comp.
And that one game where they just went absolutely crazy. And as a fan, I'm loving the drama. I'm loving it. I'm going, this is the best. This is craziness. But if you're internally there, you're going, we just cost ourselves a prelim.
I love the aggression. I think at times the game's definitely going too soft. I think there's too many sin bins, but the NRL don't think that, and they're not going to change, so you have to change.
And at the end of the day, what are you there to do? You're there to win footy matches. And so, I agree with you too, mate. I definitely think the game is reffing far too much on optics for people that don't know rugby league, but that's the decision the game's made. So unfortunately, you've just got to capitulate and go, all right,
just fold bend down to their will.
Yeah.
And I've said it the last 7 weeks, and I'll say it the next 20 weeks, but 5-minute sin bin. We saw the Dolphins almost ruled out of that game from a 10-minute sin bin. And I know the Bunnies capitalised on it, but even if it was a 5-minute sin bin, to be fair, that one deserved a 10-minute one. Yeah. But you know what I mean? I think there's such a place for the 5-minute sin bin.
And we'll get to it later, but if they're going to be so trigger happy with these sin bins, then the environment has changed. The sin bin used to be reserved for hectic stuff. That's changed. Now we sin bin all the time. I think in the first 2 games there was 6 or 7 sin bins or something. And so if that's the case, the environment's changed. So for example, a bad hip drop where you get 10 in the bin is not the same as Victor Radley flopping in on a tackle to hold someone down in the middle of the field. Because Victor Radley got sin bin at the end of the game. It was just because it was a professional foul, hey? But they weren't going to score.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? how is that the same as a hip drop? Like, it was just a dumb...
Professional foul, 5 minute every day of the week.
Like, professional foul, 5 minute in the bin, bring him back on. I watched the Radley one. Did he just dive on him because he thought the tackle wasn't complete? Like, what happened there? Or was it just a brain explosion? Because, like, what I didn't get was, like, why were they trying to slow play the ball down when they needed to score?
There was something around, and the listeners will be on top of it, but this game was obviously on mid-wedding, so I've had to go back and have a look at it all. But there was something to do with jumping on the right to try and slow it down, something around trying to get a captain's challenge, because they were talking about in the post-match presser, Teddy and Robbo, and something around, and the comments will be all over it, but that they thought if they slowed it down or gave a stoppage in play, they could challenge something that happened prior. Anyway,
because I'm just looking at it now. It was a very, very obvious flop. So, if they were trying to go for a captain's challenge, they did say last year that that's going to become a sin bin, which is fair enough.
I'm sure that was.
I watched it a few times, and no one said anything. Like, it just looked like a really dumb thing to do. But now that makes sense. He was trying to get the captain's challenge, which is, again, it's. Should know.
So then there was more drama around, say, some interpretation by the NRL change.
Okay.
6 sin bins for the Roosters this year, so 1 a game on average.
Yeah.
Although Dolphins are on 6 as well, so yeah.
It's just, it's hard to say because Trent Robinson is literally one of the best coaches, ever. Like, is in when you look at the amount of comps he's won, the amount of minor premierships he's won, at least of the modern era. You'd have him of the modern era of rugby league, you'd have him in the top 4, 5 coaches.
Yeah.
Since, 2000, let's say?
Yeah.
So, like, he's so good at what he does. I just wonder, like, how do you address that? Anyway, so discipline...
it's funny, though, because Trent Robinson's obviously a gun, but when they won that comp in 2013, as you both know, like, the Roosters were very, very, very happy to constantly give away penalties pretty much for the whole year because they backed their defense. And now a penalty back then can be a sin bin these days. The game's obviously changed so much, so maybe he just has to like turn away from that a little bit. I think I'm looking at the stats now. The Roosters had easily, by so far, the most penalties in 2013. That's what they won the comp back on.
How are they going this year in penalties?
1 moment.
Because, like, when you think they went back-to-back 2018... 2019, rules came in 2020, 21.
Halfway through
20, COVID.
Halfway through 20, yeah.
So 2020. So I wonder whether that's...
They're about mid-range this year.
They're about mid-range?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because, like, if they've got the same sin bins as Dolphins, you would go, well... And 3 of them happened...
On Friday.
Then you'd go, well, technically, statistically speaking... that the sin bins aren't an issue for them because the Dolphins are going okay. But then, and they're mid-range for penalties.
But that is the most for sin bins.
Yeah, okay.
6.
Oh, yeah. It's a mixture of, I think it's a mixture of things. Obviously, it's discipline for sure, but it's also like, I just don't know whether they've found out the way they want to play yet. I'm not sure. I think not drastic change, but something needs to change. Something needs to change internally. Is it panic stations? I don't think so for the Roosters. I think the Roosters are such a good footy side that they can literally... They could come out next week, blow someone off the park, and then go on a massive run. Like, that's how good this Roosters side is. So I still think that they're premiership threats, but I just think that they don't want to leave their run too late.
Yeah, I wouldn't be concerned as a Roosters fan, but we do come on here quite often and make excuses for them.
Yeah,
and have done for as long as I've been on the podcast. And you're like, at what point is it like, stop making excuses? They're just not delivering.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But at the same point, I'm like, I wouldn't have too many concerns for them. They'll come good. It's a long season.
Yeah, you're right though in regards to, but it's because they go on these runs. Like last year when they went on that run, they definitely, if they didn't have a brain explosion, I honestly think they 100% end up in the grand final.
Yeah, and looking at the side, I'm with you. I reckon they do too. One of the great footy stories.
They made the prelim at least because they would have had to play Penrith in the prelim, but they would have at least made the prelim.
Or the prelim.
Yeah. Let's not get technical, mate. One of the great stories, Angus Crichton back on the weekend through New South Wales Cup, and then Tilly Tupanua as well back through New South Wales Cup. So them two boys coming back in. Hopefully they can find their feet pretty quickly and get back in the top grade, but they'll have an enormous difference on this side.
Oh, massive difference. Massive difference. And
oh God.
Still got Lodge to come back as well.
Lodge to come back. Nathan Brown won't be far away. Yeah, Connor Watson. So, there's bodies there that'll be back.
Yeah. I still believe, though, with the roster they've currently got, they should be, top 4 right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
But, as we both just said, definitely not worried. They're currently sitting 9th, and they've got 8 points. So, basically, they're equal 5th. If you're talking points differential, they're equal 5th right now. So, the good thing for the Roosters right now is similar-ish to 2018. They're winning enough games to keep themselves in the hunt for the top 4. Because as you need to be in the top 4 if you want to win the comp. And right now, they're definitely still in the top, still in the hunt for the top 4. They're basically only a point behind Sea Eagles for the top 4 spot. So it's kind of like they're still okay. So this is the reason why you go Roosters. Nothing to worry about is because their roster, whatever. They're still in the hunt for the top 4. Cowboys, you go panic stations.
Yeah. Because
they are not even in the hunt right now for the top 4. For panic stations in regards to where they should be right now. But we'll get to the Cowboys. Now. Oh, sorry, yeah. 2
points. Warriors Panthers in 2nd on 10. Titans in 10th on 8. There's a game.
You know what's fucking hilarious right now?
2 and 10.
On the app, the Broncos logo at 1 is Roosters logo. Look.
Good from the NRL. No.
How dare they? What the hell?
Oh.
Wow. Oh, anyway.
I know people. It's small. I know people are going to correct in the comments. Lodge did play this week, but he only played like 20 minutes. So he's still got to come back.
Lodge did play this week.
Yeah, but I think they're kind of easing him back. But yeah, he was only on the field for 20 minutes.
What was his...
He was in a headgear, so maybe he didn't...
was he in a headgear?
Half the Roosters are in headgears at the moment.
That is...
Blame Guru for getting married.
Oh, okay. He had quite a quiet game. That's probably why we didn't notice him. 57 metres, 13 tackles. You know what I do like, though? Positives. Even though he also had quite a quiet game. Terrell May. I think he brings so much impact off the bench. Outside of that, I thought Hargreaves and Lindsay Collins, 170 metres Hargreaves, 133 metres Lindsay Collins. Doesn't Hargreaves just keep delivering?
Oh my God.
It is seriously crazy. And he wants a contract for next year, and they're struggling. I will say, you look at their halves. We've been giving Sam Walker massive raps for his improvement in defence. 30 tackles, 8 misses. So, maybe that's where a bit of the points leaked. But hopefully they bounce back next week.
I do think, again, hoping Crichton and Satilli can come back well, getting on the inside of Keary and Sammy Walker will make a world of difference defensively. Like Egan Butcher, I think he's a great footballer. Scored a nice try on the weekend. I just think he's an out-and-out middle. Defensively, he's been caught out so much. So I think when they strengthen those edge back rollers, Nat Butcher's solid enough, but it'll help big time.
So who are they playing next week? The Roosters. They are playing the Dragons. So really big game to they must bounce back here. Must bounce
that's
back.
A good game.
Yep.
To go out to.